Welcome back, guys. My name is Patrick, and I am joined today by a very special guest, Mike. Mike, welcome back to the Oilers Fanatic.
It's
He'll
good to
be
be
joining.
back to the Fanatic.
Sorry to cut you off there. So he will be joining me for tonight's episode of the Fanatic Rundown. What a 24, 48 hours, whatever we got now for the Oilers. New head coach Jay Woodcroft, new assistant coach Dave Manson, and they both get their first NHL wins tonight. A huge team effort. The Oilers take down the New York Islanders 3-1. Mike, your initial thoughts?
It was almost like watching the same game, but just a little bit different, a little bit of a different tweak. Right from puck drop, when you saw who they set out there to start the game, I was actually flabbergasted. They dressed 7 D men. Like Philip Broberg was out there, and I had no clue. Like he just kind of blended right in. I think overall their game was better, but Mike Smith was by far the best Oiler on the ice tonight. He was phenomenal. I was actually quite impressed.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'll just get that out of the way right now. Mike Smith is the player of the game. I don't think there's any doubt about
Hands
that.
down, pants down, everything. Like he was stopping almost everything. And even the goal that Bolivier scored on him, like he wanted the shutout. Like he was, but that's the tenacity that we know about Mike Smith. I just hope that with the amount of time that he wants to play and what he wants to do and bring the team kind of, out of the depths and back into the playoff race, is that he doesn't get injured. Because I tell you, him and Koskinen, both healthy and kind of taking the reins, half and half. It's not the most ideal thing, but man, like at least it's something. Whereas before we had kind of half a goaltender.
Yeah. Well, if they can at least get going, like I still want Ken Holland to go for a goaltender before the deadline, but if it works out that you can't get anything, if you can at least get Smith and Koskinen going. Obviously Smith's been out pretty much the whole year with injuries, so we're all basically holding our breath if he looks like he's wincing or gets hit, because he seems to get run into constantly. Happened again tonight.
Yep.
Islander guy took him down, so we got to keep Mike Smith healthy.
But the thing is that, and this is how the team has changed in the last 24 hours, right? You look at what happened after that, man, people were going after
exactly.
Alexis Pickle there, Barzell or whatever, right? Like it was insane, right? Like even at the end of the game there, like there was a tempo and there was a hit that was kind of placed, a late hit. Nuge goes in there, and then because Nurse got popped, and then Nuge goes in there. Nuge gets popped in the face, and who's there? Evander Kane. I have to tell you guys, Evander Kane has been like this little, I don't know. I like how he plays, the tenaciousness, but I think for me, playing 11 minutes tonight, Niemelainen, that kid, man, he can throw some hits. And he was hitting everyone. I think in the first period, he had something, if I remember Jack Michaels saying correctly, I think he had 7 hits in the first period. Incredible.
Well, that's been the Oilers' problem, right? They're too easy to play against. And guys like Marcus Niemelainen is exactly what the Oilers need. They need players to make them tougher to play against. Niemelainen, Evander Kane, and guys that aren't just on the fourth line, right? I mean, Niemelainen plays a little bit further down the lineup and on the defense, but he can play further up. And obviously, Evander Kane's in your top 6, right? So this is exactly what the Oilers have needed for so long. And it really came through tonight when they needed some pushback.
Well, absolutely. And like I was saying to you earlier, when we were talking after the first period, just the time on ice, like in the first period, McDavid and Draisaitl only played less than 6 minutes of the first period. And I tell you, it makes a huge difference, because even though they ended up playing just over 20 minutes each in the game, they looked fresh all game. There was not one point where I'm like, geez, man, McDavid's kind of dogging it, or man, Draisaitl looks tired, right? They were still riding him, but shame on the refs in this game, because the officiating in this game was absolutely one-sided until all of a sudden they had to call a penalty. But like there were so many missed calls that the Oilers should have had so many more opportunities and chances. And great on the Bison King for like just being tenacious. But I tell you, man, he was in the exact place that he needed to be, up on that first line with McDavid. For whatever reason, he has some kind of solace, some kind of like comfort level. And like there's a lot of guys that have been on that right side that have been duds. Yamo, Cassian, duds. Yes, he goes up there. He's got this big shit eater's grinning on his face, gets his big ass in the way. Cece, of all people, scores his first home goal, his second goal of the year. Cece had the most time on ice with 26 minutes and 24 seconds. And like, it was awesome, right? But you look at down the lineup, other than it looking like the new coach benched McLeod and Benson because they played less than 8 minutes, the two of them. But they did get some penalty kill time. They did get some power play time, and man, it was great. It was absolutely fabulous.
Wow, that's 8 minutes more than Benson's been playing lately. So yeah, like those guys should be happy just to get in the lineup. Well, McLeod's been in the lineup, but Tyler Benson like getting back in the lineup because Jay Woodcroft's going to be great for him. Also got to mention tonight, Zach Hyman, 100th NHL career goal. Yeah.
Like,
what a beauty goal
awesome.
It was.
And a beauty, right? Absolutely. People in front of the net, it was a goal scorer's goal. And you gotta give it to him. But, and I don't want to beat this with as much as I really need to, but like, I'm looking at the time on ice and like, nobody was under 10 minutes other than those two guys that I said, Ryan McLeod and Tyler Benson, but deservedly so. They were ineffective when they were on the ice. And the penalty kill there a little bit. If it wasn't for that and them getting about a minute and a half of penalty kill time tonight, they would have been under 5 minutes. But again, it's because they were being ineffective. They weren't passing very well. They weren't being physical. Whereas you look at a guy like Broberg had over 11 minutes. William Lagesson had over 11 minutes in the game tonight, right?
He's been really good lately.
Derek Ryan doubled his average time on ice tonight with 15 minutes, and he was effective. Like, he was like, to me, what I hope Jay Woodcroft, and after this first game, is that people have to realize that this is the Edmonton Oilers, the team of the Edmonton Oilers. From Smith or whoever's in goal all the way out to the big three, 97, 29, and to a lesser part, Darnell Nurse, right? But not too much lesser. But I'm saying is that, but it doesn't have to revolve around those three, whether we win, lose, or die, right? The fact that the whole team probably felt like they contributed to this game because they all got to play. They weren't benched. They weren't being double shifted or anything like that, right? Like I said, it was absolutely incredible. And then the last time on ice that I'm going to go through is that Evan Bouchard over the last 10 games has been averaging 22 to 25 minutes. He played 13 effective minutes tonight and didn't get into trouble. And that was the big thing. Didn't play a lot either. He played 13 minutes as well, but again, didn't get himself into trouble. And that's what you're wanting. CC, I tell you, he has been, if you look in the first 44 games, he's been probably our most consistent defensive player on this team.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a shaky start, but then from that point on, you could kind of see Jay Woodcroft's effect. Like, as you were saying, he was spreading out the lines. He was giving times, different guys. And Mike Smith, thankfully, got us through that first 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was. And then you could see the kind of game, like they still gave up some too many chances throughout the game, but it got better as it went. And the Oilers are like finally using their depth now. Because like you said, like the Oilers would fall behind and then they're double shifting McDavid and Draisaitl. It's basically their show if the Oilers are down 1 or 2 goals. Like the Oilers have great depth now. So you got to spread it out. And when the Oilers spread out the ice time, they're going to be more effective. Like, it's easy thing to say. You just got to execute it though. And
exactly.
Right now
and just to kind of go about, you were saying, star of the game, Mike Smith. I think star 1A would be the fact that the Oilers scored the first frickin' goal of the game. And
Yes.
like, that's a first in, like, I don't know, 25 games. Like, it's incredible what the stat is. And it's funny because I was listening to Gregor's show on the way home from work today. And that was his, big audacious, key to the game or whatever, is that, can or could the Oilers score the first goal? And they did. And it was a great goal. And, hard work, tenaciousness. I think the thing that I like to see the most too, and it's also probably because that the coaching staff didn't get here until like 9:00 last night, and they haven't had any kind of time with the team, was tons of communication on the bench, guys on the bench talking to each other. It just seemed like before there seemed to be some kind of stigma around the bench, and now it just seemed like the guys were just kind of, maybe there's some kind of a positive force field or bubble put around the guys. They just seem to be a ton better tonight. And I know people are going to say, well, it's the new coach and everybody's playing hard. I'm telling you, when was the last time you seen Leon Draisaitl slide on his belly to save an entrance into an ozone? Like, I've never seen that in years.
Yeah,
and that's just what I'm saying, is that it seems to be, and I know it's just a short sample of just one game, but it seems to be that the guys, even in their pressers this afternoon, pregame, they're all saying, like, we're willing to buy in. McDavid goes, cut my ice time. I don't care if it means that we're going to win and it's going to propel the team forward. He goes, you do what seems right. We're all willing to buy in. Darnell Nurse said the same thing. But my favorite thing that I heard was on your podcast, right? Like, when you did your synopsis from yesterday, it was just like, guys are up here and like, we're in the shit. So Jay comes in and he's just like, hey guys, stop making this about me. Stop making this about me becoming the head coach. He goes, this is a whole team effort. This is about the team, making the team better. And I like to hear that, because you don't get whereas Tippett was, and not to bash on Tippett, but he never took any semblance of any kind of accountability. And so it's going to be interesting to see and hear Jay in his after the game presser today about, what kind of, accountability or understanding that he's kind of going to take away from each and every game. But if it was just a new voice that the boys needed to hear, and you have to remember, we're down Duncan Keith, even though he's not the most effective player, but Zach Kassian, and we had like 3 rookie defensemen, and it didn't look like that, right? No. Like, am I going down the wrong path there? Like, it didn't look like half of our defense was an AHL defense, right? Or our bottom 6 had between 11 and 15 minutes of playing time. Like, it just the flow of the game seemed better. And like I said, our superstars didn't look exhausted every time they hit the ice for a shift in the third period.
Well, the defenseman being ready, like, that's Woodcroft there. He's getting them ready in Bakersfield. And when they're coming up, they're actually effective. They're not like the old days where we used to bring somebody up and hopefully can play on the third or fourth line. If they got a goal, that was great. But like, these guys are coming up and giving the Oilers quality minutes. It's absolutely huge. And to go back to a point on Woodcroft, I haven't watched the post-game interview yet, but I did hear that the Oilers players presented him with the game puck, but he's going to get the puck cut in half, and half is going to Dave Manson, half for him. So that just kind of shows what a great character guy he is.
And that's the thing, is that, you look at a guy that's come up and he was an assistant coach. He played under McClellan, or he coached under McClellan. They went through the whole synopsis of what his career has been up to this point. And, his first NHL game as a head coach, his first NHL win without a practice, without nothing. It just goes to show, he's been in the ear of some of the players, but not all the players, some of the players from before. He's in the ear and had been in the ear of a lot of these young players. And you could tell they just played different. I don't know if it's his mannerisms with them on the ice or beforehand or if it's just a level of expectations that they know that he, impresses upon his players. But man, like it seemed to work. And like at first I was like, oh, here we go again. But the Islanders aren't no slouch. Like the Islanders have been playing really well as of late. They've been getting
they're playing for their lives right now.
Right? They've been getting absolutely fabulous goaltending. So for the fact that the Oilers, in the last time we met, we lost to these guys in overtime. So the fact that we came in and we matched them toe to toe, and divvied up the shots, and like we had over 30 shots on net with only 1.5 power plays, right? To their 4 power plays. So like to me, somebody's doing something right. Mike Smith was playing the puck. Like I said, if he ever wanted to be a goaltender coach once he's done in the NHL, man, that would be the guy that I want showing some of these young goaltenders how to be strong in their skates, how to skate with their pads on, and how to play that puck with their stick. Because man, oh man, I don't know how or what he did and how he practices doing that. But, whoever showed him how to do that and be effective that way, big pat on the back to that person.
Yeah, well, I think I hear that all the time. And I think I brought that up too. Like, I think everybody wants to see Mike Smith become the Oilers goalie coach when he's done. I can't imagine like he's got another year left on his deal, but well, probably if you ask Mike Smith, he's going to want to play another 10 more years, but realistically, I don't know how much more he's got left.
Oh yeah. And the thing is that, this year's been just like last year was an odd year. This year's been an odd year too, because it's just, who knows what'll happen. Now that it looks like, Uncle COVID is kind of starting to slowly become in our rearview mirror, and a little bit of semblance of normalcy is coming back. It would really be awesome if Koski could go on this road trip, but he can't because they were saying he would have to quarantine coming back from California. So, I get it. So Skinner's going to get one of these games. The question I have to you, Pat, is like, pushing on from tonight and moving and looking forward. They got 2 days of practice or a day and a half with some kind of a practice. You have a travel day going down to California. Who do you start against San Jose?
I'd start Mike Smith again. And then I'd probably give Skinner, because they play LA on Wednesday, right?
No, it's back-to-back.
Okay.
San Jose Monday and the Kings on Tuesday.
Yeah, I give Skinner the second half of the back-to-back. Because by that point, Smith's going to want to keep going. And by that point, he's going to have 2 days off. So I'd let him have another game.
Yep,
and then give
enough.
Skinner the back half.
You look at a guy like Jacob Markstrom, who's played the entire year. It's got something stupid like 6 shutouts or whatever. He played the back-to-back that they had too. And like their back-to-back wasn't easy either, like at all. It was Vegas and Toronto, for Pete's sake, right? But it just goes to show, like we just missed out on him. We just missed out on Kemper. I'm tired of hearing about the just missed out ons. I want to know, okay, who are we going to get going forward, right? I would love to get another defenseman or another skilled winger. I'd love to get another goaltender. It's just, where are we going to get that? Where are we going to get that from, right? Who are we going to have to give up? I don't know. I think that if the Islanders are looking, I'd give up Barry in a heartbeat. One of the things that I heard pregame, or was it? Yeah, it was pregame, or it was with Greg or something to that effect. That they were talking with the guy, the sports guy for the Islanders, and he was like, a puck moving defenseman that can score some goals and can be strong on the puck. He might not be the best D-man in the world, but Tyson Barrie might fit something that the Islanders have, because they've got Semyon Varlamov just kind of sitting there waiting in the wings playing backup. But then again, is he any better than what Mikko Koskinen could give us riding out the rest of this year for his contract, right? That's what I don't know. I think if you're not going to be able to get somebody like a Fleury, or I don't know, like a Ville Husso or something like that, I don't know if this is the year that you go and you try and and go in on that goaltender, unless it's a goaltender that you know is going to be the goaltender of the future, and that next year they'll be able to take the reins and move forward. And Mike Smith's okay being in a more diminished capacity of being the backup and not being the full timer, or splitting it one more year. The other thing is those like Skinner is just waiting. Like, what do you do with Skinner? Like, if you got Mike Smith, unless Mike Smith gets injured and gets put back on LITR, right? You can't be sitting there with, 3 or 4 goaltenders going into next season. You're going to lose Koski at the end of this year anyways. And it's a huge contract that you're losing, which is great for the club. But like, I don't know. I've watched a lot of your videos and stuff going forward, but like, what do you think? Like, I think if you can't land that bona fide number 1 goaltender, regardless of how old he is, I don't think you pulled the trigger on that yet.
Well, yeah, I'll start with Skinner because this is the last year that Skinner's waiver is exempt. So the Oilers, if they're not going to keep Skinner in the pairing next year, you got to send him down to Bakersfield. But he was the best goaltender in the American Hockey League this year. There's no way he's clearing waivers, and he's only making $750K. So if you put Skinner on waivers next year, you're going to lose him.
Yep.
With Varlamov, what I'm hearing is he's the translator for Ilya Sorokin. So the Islanders aren't really too keen on getting rid of him because they really work together well with the guy who was in, Sorokin, who was in for the Islanders tonight. Yeah. So I don't know if we can even get Varlamov. I think Varlamov would be an upgrade based on how he's played years past. He's struggled a bit this year, but overall he's been a better goaltender. Like, I would take him if we could get him, especially a Tyson Barrie Varlamov trade, because Varlamov's 5 and Tyson Barrie's 4.5, so it's pretty much a wash.
It's almost a wash, right?
Yeah, so that'd be good cap wise. Ville Husso, definitely want him because he would be a young goalie. He's a UFA, so you'd have to re-sign him at the end of the year, but he could be one of your younger guys with Skinner going forward. But the only problem with that, of course, is the St. Louis Blues are going for the cup, so they want to keep Binnington and Husso probably, because why would you make your team weaker?
And that's what I mean, and that's fair. So, really, the bona fide actual goaltenders you could get, like I said, Marc-Andre Fleury would be my 100% first pick. Just because of his pedigree in the playoffs, how well he can play when he's got guys in front of him that are all doing their jobs correctly. The only thing is that, man, his price tag, like, Chicago already burned us once with one trade. And, unless we go and we put, a little bit of a streak together, if we're 6-1 or 7-1 in the next 8 games here, or 6-2 or whatever you want to say, and we have a little bit more of push or say in what some of these trades could be. I don't know how effective Holland's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. We might have to settle for someone like another guy that could potentially be out there, like Braden Holtby. Like, he's not a long-term solution, but he could be an upgrade for you. He only makes $2 million this year. And if you want to move on from him at the end of the year, right, he's a UFA. So, and the price tag for him would be a hell of a lot lower than it would be for a Marc-Andre Fleury or something like that. Like, I'm with you. Like, I've been talking about Fleury since the start of the year as the goalie I wanted, but I think right now Fleury's going to want to go to a team that's more considered like, we want the Oilers to be contenders, but I think Bob Stauffer has brought up this, like, if Chicago trades Fleury to Colorado, then maybe we could get Darcy Kemper from Colorado to come here, like, do kind of a 3-way trade there. I don't know. But
it's Kemper. They went all in when they lost Grubauer and got Kemper. Do you really think that Colorado isn't okay with their tandem? Like, they're playing really well right now in front of him. He's not playing terrible for him. He's not lights out by any means. I guess Fleury would be an upgrade for them too if they're pushing to try and get the cup. But I'm sorry, I'm also not a Colorado fan. I just don't think they have the team that can take them and push them and give them a cup run. I'm not saying that we are, but I know for a fact that Colorado's not built like that yet. And it's going to be really interesting to see, moving forward, how this is all going to play out, because the trade deadline is like, it still feels like it's a million miles away, right?
Yeah. Well, I think Colorado thinks they're going to go for it. So if they get Fleury, like, yeah, he is an upgrade on Kemper. So, but
Now,
like I
is
said,
Kemper better, do you think, than Drieger?
right now, yeah.
Yeah.
But Drieger was better. Well, I shouldn't say Drieger was better last year. I think it was closer last year, but Drieger struggled this year. So, but Drieger is another guy that could potentially be out there, because I can't see the Seattle Kraken wanting to keep Grubauer and Drieger going forward. That's a lot of money to be spending on their goaltending when they don't really have that good of a team right now. And they do have Joey Daccord in the American Hockey League. He looked pretty decent last time I saw him with Ottawa, so he could be a potential future backup for Grubauer too. So,
Oh,
I don't know.
100%. That could very well be. They're going to have some real interesting chips here, the Kraken, come the deadline, if they want to make a little bit of a splash to start making their team better for next year. Whether it's picks, whether it's a couple interesting pieces that they might want to move. It's going to be really interesting to see. They've got Giordano kind of sitting there, kind of, that they could probably dangle. Susie, who you like. Alexiak, who I like, I think Alexiak would fit on our team just great. I would love to see that tandem. Cece up with Nurse was incredible tonight. Like, I think they played really well as a pair. Cece being defensive minded, Nurse just doing Nurse things, but having the ability to do that because he doesn't have Bouchard right beside him the entire time, where he's trying to make sure Bouchard's okay and he's trying to do his own stuff. But man, Alexiak and Duncan Keith in the playoffs, man, I like that as a shutdown second pairing. And then Niemelainen and pick somebody to be with them, right? Like, whether it's Tyson Barrie or it's another upgrade on Tyson Barrie and it's somebody else, or maybe Broberg. Like, we haven't even talked about Broberg. He played 11 or 12 minutes. And I think the fact that we're not talking about Broberg is a good thing for Broberg, because he wasn't making real stupid mistakes. He seemed to be just quietly hitting and making smart plays in front of the net. But man, it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys push on and move forward.
Yeah, it's sometimes a good thing when you're not mentioned, because you're not doing anything stupid. Maybe not anything spectacular, but you're just being
right.
Yeah, straight and narrow, and that's kind of
we've had enough in this season where, like Connor and those guys are saying, with the huge ups and the huge downs and stuff. Maybe just playing some boring Calgary hockey is what we need to do. Take our chances when we can, like Hyman and the boys did tonight. Score a couple goals here and there, because come the playoffs, man, that's where we got burned last year. Is that we didn't have bottom six scoring, but we weren't going to get any bottom six scoring this year, like we haven't. If you don't play your bottom six, that's the thing that was really starting to frustrate me so much, was all this onus on the top six and no onus on the bottom six. And when is Warren Fogle going to be in the conversation ahead of Yamamoto? I know this town loves Yamamoto, and I'm not saying he doesn't have heart and tenaciousness, but he's just small. And I would rather see the gigantic trio of Vander Kane, Draisaitl, and Warren Fogle on the right side, and just see what happens, right? Nuge and Yamo have got great chemistry. You mix that in with, Derek Ryan, like, they seem to play well together. They play well in the PK. Why can't they play well as a line? You never know. And then that fourth line, again, two of the guys didn't get a lot of playing time just because they weren't being effective. And I like the fact that Jay took that into consideration and didn't try to overstate something that wasn't there tonight. And then maybe they get the hint, and who knows who we'll see, right? Maybe this Brad Malone guy comes in and just blows the doors off everything, right? We haven't even talked about Dylan Holloway, for Pete's sake, right? Like, we've got these all these weapons coming up, whether they play this year or if it's just something awesome to look forward to in the offseason for next year. At least we're not sitting here having the same conversation of what the hell are we going to do? We've got the best player in the league in Leon Draisaitl and his little co-star, guy named Connor McDavid, right? And it's like, how are we in the basement of this league? Like there's no reason for it. And I think with the proper management, like it seems like it's going to start righting the ship here, and it's not taking anything away from Tip. It's just veteran eyes see veteran eyes, and a youthful coach, even though he's my age, he's in his mid 40s. It's just he's looking at it from, maybe he's a glass half full guy, and the positiveness, the talking on the bench, the constant communication, moving forward. And Dave Manson was like a complete asshole to play against. And that's what he's really stirring into these defensemen. You got to love it. You got to love to see where these guys could actually go now with these two guys, being the ones chirping in their ears.
Yeah, like the communication was the thing you definitely noticed tonight. You like every time the camera went to the bench,
right?
Like you could see Manson, you could see Woodcroft just talking to the guys, giving them little pointers, pat on the back. And yeah, with the toughness, Marcus Niemelainen, just like the hit, you took a penalty there, but
I don't care. Take that penalty every day.
You got to make it tough to play in front of the net.
Saying, hey, you're not coming in front of my house like this. You have to also say kudos to, lighten the, to the Alberta government too. People could drink again in the stands and eat food, so they weren't sitting there like a bunch of zombies. I think there's some positive chanting was actually happening tonight instead of all this horse crap that has been going on for so long. So you know what, man, it's good to see in a small little dose of what really could come in these next 37 games, man. At least there's hope that, they can build on this and keep moving forward. These next 5 games, man, before we play the 3 juggernauts, are going to be huge. 5 huge divisional games. And then the week after, when we play those 3 juggernauts, man, and a back-to-back with friggin' Tampa Bay and Florida, it's going to be tough. You got Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Florida after this 5 games and 7 nights. It ain't going to get it's not getting any easier at all from here on in. So, we all have to just buckle up and belt in and get ready for this ride, because it's going to be hard and fast.
Yeah, I think all 3 games against the California teams next week, I mean, realistically, are we going to win them all? Probably not, but I think they got to treat all 3 of those games like must wins. Those are all 3 teams that we're chasing in our division. Like that's a huge 6 points. You could say like all the division games are like 4-point games. So that's 12 points right there. So like, Oilers got to be all over that and try and get at least 3 wins in a row here, because they need the wins to climb up the standings. So yeah, those are definitely must wins in my opinion.
Agreed, man. Absolutely 100% agreed.
Well, I think we'll get wrapping it up here for tonight. Any final thoughts you want to give for tonight, Mike?
Go Oilers, go, man. I love what I saw tonight. I love the communication. I love the hitting. I love the standing up for one another, man. Like seriously, every single time, even though it was inconsequential, the fact that those boys stood up for Mike Smith didn't have to get in there and ruffle any feathers. Evander Kane's in there. Like, dude, I don't care what anybody says. We're going to just keep talking about him. And I hope that, come the end of this season and going into the off season, we're talking about him being able to get signed on and we see enough and there's enough that goes on in the rest of these next 37 games that he can stay an Oiler for a few more years. Because, man, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
All right, brother.
Well, guys, I think that's all for us for tonight. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If this is your first visit to the channel and you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing for all the latest Oilers content. You've been watching Patrick, the Oilers Fanatic. Mike, another Oilers Fanatic. Thanks for being a fan. Have a great weekend, guys, and we'll see you soon with more Oilers content. Take care, guys.